Hello, welcome back. I thought I would just pop in here. It's much later than I normally film. It's 10 p.m. And normally I film like during the day, so I'm feeling out of my element, but that's not super important to you. I filmed a TikTok / Instagram reel, which should already be up. Maybe not. Will be coming, perhaps, not sure, by the time this video is up, but I figured I'm already made up and I don't work tomorrow, so I might as well take this opportunity to film a quick video. And I wanted to talk about my favorite highlighters because I've done a lot of videos on blush, and while I love blush so much, I also equally love highlight. I'm very much a powder highlight person, not a cream highlight person by any means, and I feel like honestly most of my favorite highlighters have stood the test of time in a major way. I think like my original from like 3 or 4 years ago favorite highlight video, like most of these are still in this video, but thought I would do a 2023 updated version. And a lot of these are older products, so maybe you already have them in your collection or can find them on a discount or something. So yeah, let's just hop into it. So let's just start with what's on my face right now. This has been a long time love of mine. I originally bought this because Amy Loves Makeup talked about it a lot, and I was obsessed with the way that it looked on her, and this has not let me down. This is the Natasha Denona Super Glow Highlight. I have the shade Fair, but I'm pretty sure there are 3 shades at least. Random side note, this might be I'm not sure if Natasha Denona is leaving Sephora or what, but this is on sale at Sephora right now. If this goes up while the Sephora VIB sale is still on, maybe you could get this on like an extra discount, not entirely sure. But this, I've said it before, looks kind of unassuming in the pan, and even when you swatch it, it doesn't necessarily look like it's going to be the most beautiful special highlight, but this has the most beautiful just glow from within, but with a little extra, I find. It's so pretty. It's like creamy and glowy, but without being too much, without being too metallic, too sparkly. It's really not sparkly at all, but it's also not like a super metallic highlight. I feel like it just melts into your skin, it makes you look glossy and glowy, and it's so beautiful. And I feel like you can't replicate it in like either a swatch or by looking at it, and it's so beautiful and honestly worth it full price in my opinion. And if you can get it on a deal, I would highly recommend. It's one of like my top 2 or 3 favorite highlights for sure. Speaking of an old favorite, MAC Extra Dimension Skin Finish in Double Gleam. This is such okay, I'm not gonna say it's such a beautiful highlight for all of them, but this is definitely similar vibes to the Natasha Denona one. And first of all, this comes in a ton of different shades. This specific one is kind of like a silvery champagne, and it's so beautiful if you have very fair skin, but they have tons of different shades in this line. This is very similar in that it's not sparkly at all, and it's not super metallic. It's just really beautiful and glowy, and you can really build it up to make it really intense, but otherwise it just looks like you're glowy and glossy, and it's so beautiful and really versatile. And I feel like these extra dimension skin finishes from MAC don't get talked about a lot anymore, and I personally still love and use this one all the time. I think it's so pretty and just like a staple highlight that no matter what's like trendy, you know, whatever makeup look you're going for, it's always going to work. It's always going to look good, and it's not overly expensive for a high-end highlighter. If I had to guess, I think it's around like $40-ish, so it's expensive, but it's not like, I feel like the price of makeup now is just like so stupid expensive. But anyway, And then I guess we'll just talk about another expensive highlight. This, why do I kind of feel like this might be discontinued? Let me just double check on Sephora. Did this get discontinued? Okay, not sure if this got discontinued or not, but if you can still find it, the Milk Makeup Flex Highlight, this is in the shade Lit. I guess I won't rave about it too much, but if you can find it somehow, or a reminder to pull it out of your collection. I don't know why they would discontinue this because it's just such a beautiful highlight. Again, very, very similar to the Natasha Denona, the MAC one. This is almost like a little bit even more intense, which is why I love it so much, and it just is so beautiful. It's not sparkly. It just blends and buffs into your skin and makes you look so sheeny and so glowy and like wet. And it's really, really nice. But if this is actually discontinued, I'm gonna be really sad. In a similar vein, this has just, I have not been able to quit this highlight, the Benefit Cookie Highlight. Why do I feel like this is gonna get discontinued? Okay, no, this is still available. Thank fucking God. If this got discontinued, I'd be so sad. The unfortunate thing is that I know they have a deeper version because this is obviously just a like pretty light champagne. They do have a pink one, but it still looks relatively light, so I would love it if they expanded their shade range. Not entirely shocked considering its Benefit, but this is the most beautiful highlight in a way that like doesn't even really make sense considering it comes from Benefit, but it's maybe like a slightly bit more amped up than the other highlighters that I just talked about, but it's such a thin powder that it buffs into your skin and looks so beautiful and so glowy without looking like it's a streak of highlight. It makes your skin look literally wet, and it is divine. I honestly reach for this all the time. If I don't know what I want to use, I will reach for this because it always looks good. And this is a highlight that even if I'm like editing a video or looking at a picture or something, I'm like, fuck, what highlight did I use? And that's how I know it's like an outstanding product. So this has just stayed in my favorite highlight like roster for honestly since I got it. And in a similar vein, this is such an old product but still so good. I wish they would come out with a lighter shade in this, but this is the Maybelline Master Chrome Highlight in the shade Molten Rose Gold. This is like a slight bit too deep for me. Like I wouldn't use this on my nose maybe, or my Cupid's bow, but it has like a silvery sheen to it, so I can kind of get away with it. But I know they have like a bronze one and a gold one in this range as well. This is like, feels very like classic highlight formula. It's very thick and creamy, but it just looks so pretty on the skin, and just so glowy. It's a little bit more on the metallic side. I mean, this did come out, who knows, probably in like 2016, around like the most intense highlight you could possibly get kind of phase, but I still really think that this holds the test of time and still just looks really beautiful, especially when you buff it into the skin. I don't think, if you use a small amount and buff it into the skin, I don't think it looks overly metallic or too stripey or anything. And it's just, again, it makes you look so glowy and pretty. And if you have this in your collection and you've forgotten about it, pull it out, because I can almost guarantee you that you're going to fall back in love with it. And same with this product. I really think this also holds the test of time and was once so hyped up. The Wet n Wild Megaglo Highlighting Powder. This is the shade Blossom Glow. I also have two other shades that I don't reach for as much because they're too deep for me. This is Precious Petals, which is such a beautiful, like, peachy. I don't know when I would use this. maybe in like, I don't know, maybe it's kind of like a blush topper highlight kind of hybrid. And I also have the shade Golden Flower Crown, which is a gold. Both of these aren't great for me, but Blossom Glow I use a lot. I'm almost surprised I don't have pan in this, but again, it's super glowy, super pretty, maybe a little bit less honestly intense than the Maybelline one, but again, you can really just buff it into the skin to make you look glowy without looking like overly stripy or like powdery or metallic on your skin. And I think it's just really, 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 really pretty, to be honest. And again, if you have that buried in the back of your collection, bring it out because it's still really, really good. Another drugstore highlight that I really love, that I have been forever searching for the other colorway of this, and I feel like it's so hard to find, but the Pixi Glowy Gossamer Duo. This is the shade Delicate Dew. I mostly use this like kind of lighter pink side, but obviously it has this like deeper shade. This is really, really metallic. It's like a very metallic highlight, but it's so beautiful and such an almost like high-end powder because it's very thin and you can buff it, again similar to like the cookie highlight in that it's really intense, but you can buff it out so that it just looks just like gleaming and glowy and dewy without looking overly intense. Although I will say, if you like a subtle highlight, this is not going to be for you. Like, it's gonna be like a very dewy and highlighty. You're gonna look really highlighted. So if you like a very kind of like soft highlight, this is not going to be for you. It's going to be intense pretty much no matter how you slice it, but it's, if you like a really like wet cheek, so good. Still, again, so good. Like, I feel like the old highlights still slap because we had a lot of good highlights way back in the day and they still are beautiful. This is a newer one to me, but I've absolutely fallen in love with it. The Fenty Beauty Freestyle Killawatt Freestyle Highlighter in Chills. This has been honestly my go-to blue highlight. Anytime I feel like I want a blue highlight, this is one of the first ones that I reach for. And this is kind of moving away from a highlight that you're going to be able to make look like kind of glowy and natural, because there are a lot of sparkle in this, or there is a lot of sparkle in this, but I don't feel like it looks overly like glittery or piecey sparkle when you put it on your cheeks. It just makes your skin look really like kind of wet looking. But again, if you don't like a sparkly highlight, you won't like this. But if you don't mind a sparkly highlight, because I feel like highlights with really fine sparkle in them make your cheeks look wet. So you don't mind having a little bit of sparkle in there. It's so, so pretty. And obviously it's blue, so you know you're gonna have to like a blue highlight. But if for whatever reason you have been in search of a blue highlight, this is honestly probably my most reached for in my collection. It's so, so nice. But the sparkles don't like get stuck to your cheek. Like, this is the Odin's Eye highlighter, for example, the Solmana Moonlight Field highlighter. And I feel like this is also a sparkly highlight, also a blue sparkly highlight, but it has kind of larger flecks of sparkle in it that I do feel can get stuck to your cheek when you blend it out, so it's a little bit more obvious. This doesn't necessarily look super sparkly per se. Like, there's not noticeable pieces of like larger sparkle or glitter particles on your cheek. It just makes them look like wet. And similarly, the Fenty Beauty Diamond Balm is just an OG classic for a reason. This is something that honestly I would never be without in my collection because it's such a beautiful product. I know that there are other brands that do similar things to this, but I've never tried them because I have this one. But again, it's just this, if you want a wet looking cheek, like legitimately wet looking, this will be your best friend. I reach for this anytime I am just like trying to get ready quickly and I don't know, like I'm not really thinking, you know, like what product am I gonna use? This isn't one of like my most grabbed for if I'm going anywhere in like dim light or kind of like dark lighting. This just looks so beyond. It is such a special product. Again, you have to like more a sparkly highlight because it is sparkly, but it doesn't look super sparkly. It just looks divine, okay? It looks divine. And in a similar way, the way that I've heard this described and could not agree more, the Blend Bunny Noctilucent Highlighting Palette. First of all, I haven't been able to stop reaching for this since I got it. It is honestly become one of my new favorite makeup products ever. But the way that this was described, I've heard online people say that it's like the Fenty Beauty Diamond Bomb in like different colors, and I really think that is super accurate. They're obviously 6 colored highlighters, but they really don't have that strong of a base. Like I can easily use the shade Dreamlike on my cheeks, even on my forehead, without it looking like a dark pink. And I mean, I can obviously only speak so much, but based on seeing other people online use them who have like quite deep skin tones, use these more like lighter iridescent shades, they really don't have that much of a base pigment to them, so they're not going to look ashy or chalky. They're just going to really show that color. And again, they are sparkly and colorful, so you have to like a sparkly highlight or a colorful highlight. But again, they just make your cheeks look wet. They are so beautiful. I use this all of the time. I have to actively stop myself from using it, which is how I know it's a banger. Honestly, Blend Bunny has not created a product yet that I do not love. Well, not that I've tried, to be fair. Okay. These are also a little bit random, but underrated in my opinion. Also a little bit sparkly, a little bit more intense, but so pretty. The Wet n Wild Loose Highlighters. These are the loose highlighting powders. I don't know, Megaglo loose highlighting powders. I have the shade I'm So Lit and Written in the Stars. Written in the Stars I'm pretty sure was limited edition, but I'm So Lit I'm pretty sure also is still available. I mean, they're very similar shades, but they're just so pretty. They're super bright, a little bit sparkly, but they just are such beautiful highlighters. If you like a more intense highlight, but it doesn't look like, it's not overly metallic, which is what I love about these. It's not metallic, it just, again, it makes your cheeks look glossy and wet and so glowy and so beautiful. Again, you have to like a more intense highlight, you have to like something with a tiny touch of sparkle to it, but if that is your jam, so pretty and affordable and underrated, criminally underrated in my opinion. And this one unfortunately only comes in one shade, but if it works for you and you can still get it, the Mikayla and Glamlite highlight, this has honestly replaced ColourPop Flexitarian for me. Like anytime I would reach for ColourPop Flexitarian, I now reach for this. It's a similar, it's not a putty formula really like the ColourPop Super Shock Cheeks are, but it's very creamy and thick feeling, almost like it's just one step away from being a ColourPop Super Shock, and it's a similar shade. It's very just kind of like that really bright like champagne, pale champagne shade, but it's so pretty, very bright, a little bit more on the metallic side than a lot of the other highlights that I've talked about, so I do have to like kind of really buff it in, make sure it's not going to look like a stripe on my face, but it's so bright, so glowy, and I haven't been able to stop using it since I got it. And anytime I really would reach for ColourPop Flexitarian, I reach for this. I find this is even a little bit easier to use just because sometimes the Super Shock Cheeks, while I really like them, can be a little bit finicky because they are just on the cusp of being not quite a powder. you know, sometimes depending on how my makeup is, it can be a little bit finicky. They can look a little thick on my cheeks sometimes. So I do not have that problem with that product, and I think it's so, so pretty. Not necessarily a part of this video, but I really also do love, an honorable mention is the Glamlite Scooby-Doo highlight. So this is much more sparkly though. This reminds me a lot of the Blend Bunny Noctilucent formula. I especially love this green one. This pink one isn't quite as sparkly, but they're still so pretty, and I also reach for both of these a lot. So if you like a more intense highlight, honestly, Glamlite seems to really be killing it with their highlight formulas, but I've only ever tried these two from Glamlite, and they're very different. So I don't know if they have like one consistent formula or if they're all different depending on like the collab and the collection or what, but so far so very good with Glamlite's highlights. And the last formula that I want to talk about that I think is going to be like a very, and has been, a people pleaser across the board are the Kaleidos highlights. I love these, and they're kind of just old faithfuls in a lot of ways because they are not, again, super metallic, they're not sparkly, but they're a very just really beautiful glowy highlight. So I feel like you can build them up if you are a person that likes really intense highlight. I think you can get a really like super glowy cheek, but if you don't want a really intense highlight, they also just are like really beautiful, really glowy, and not offensive in any kind of direction. But they're also not like so subtle that if you are a person that really isn't gonna fuck with a really subtle highlight, you know, it kind of pleases everyone, I think. I have the shade Ray Rider, which is kind of just like a champagne kind of light gold shade. Star Surfer is a really light pink. And then Space Age Prophecy is one of their multi-chrome highlighters, which is so fun. I would love to get more shades of the Kaleidos highlighters. I haven't made an order from Kaleidos in a while, but they're kind of one of the OG brands doing like colored highlighters in a bunch of different colorways that were actually good. I think a lot of like brands that colored highlighters that weren't maybe like the best formula wise, but these really are just so beautiful. And I really want to get their other, I think it's called the Gifted highlight. I really want to get their other multi-chrome highlight, but it's a little, they are quite expensive, so I haven't like bit the bullet yet, but I really want to give these a shout out because I think a lot of people may either like, or a lot of people talked about them in the past, including myself, and so a lot of people may have them in their collection already, or you know, just shouting out an older product that still is really good. And their packaging is like, this is really just like Kaleidos, you know, like always pushing the, like, not pushing the edge, but being like so innovative with their packaging. And I don't know, I just have really like weirdly great memories attached to these highlighters. So I also just love them for that. Okay, and this concludes my, hopefully, especially for me, short favorite highlight video. I would love to know your favorite highlighters. I'm really in a highlight mood again. I have a ton of highlighters, honestly. I have like a lot of highlights, but these are still my favorites and have been my favorites for a really long time. So they're like tried and true and tested. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I would love to see you in my next one.